Right. I have no idea if this is working. I have just kicked it in. I do not understand what is going on. So I'm going to give it a second. And I'm going to let it all settle down again and see what happens. That was weird. Very, very weird. So we'll start a little bit later. And we'll, we will figure out what is going on. There's only 13 people currently viewing, so... Oh, it stuttered my side. You tell me, is it still going? What is weird is why this machine... 62. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just letting the stream settle a minute before we get into tonight. Still okay. Okay, it might be my end then. You need to talk faster. Right, okay. Let's go for it. Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the release of the DJI Neo 2, but not in the UK, not in the US, but we know pretty much everything there is to know about it as well already. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about this, the Cadex Protos drone, because now we know what firmware is on this. We know what RF system, we know everything. We know everything about this now, including the flight control firmware. And I have a video coming telling you how you can play with it. And I'm going to give you a hint in a minute that I was right, what I suspected it was going to run. But yeah, we got there in the end. We're going to talk about what else. I've because of the messing up at the start, I've now forgotten what I've even written in the doc, because that's what happens. HDZero have released a set of antennas for their goggles, as well as a new remote has appeared. And we will talk about anything else that happens along the way as well. Now, please just give me a quick heads up to tell me everything looks okay. Let me know that it all looks good before I get into it, because the last post I've got is it says 15 frames a second, which isn't ideal. Stunning as always. So let's get on with it, just in case it all goes to hell. The DJI Neo 2 has launched, and it's a really weird one because this has launched in China, Hong Kong, but not in EU, not in UK, and not in the US, obviously. With that, though, a number of reviews have come out. There's a couple of really good reviews up already. If I just go to the desktop, and I need to turn on that to make sure I'm there. There's some genuine user reviews out there already. I'm going to be honest, the best one I've seen is this from Not Another Mountain Biking Channel. He really put this through its paces, and I'm going to show you some footage from his video now, because this is one of the best videos I have seen. And whilst he shows you how good it is, he also shows you the pitfalls that remains on these selfie-style drones, because whilst they've come a long way, none of them are really up to the full task yet. And what I mean by that is this: if you watch his clip he's riding it through the trees, and I suggest you check out his main video because it is a fantastic one. Let me just make sure system audio is off. There we go. I'm just going to mute it a second because I don't want his audio. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just want to demo something he's showing. And it does avoid these trees. We need to go back. If we see here, he demos it, and it does avoid this tree here. However, it ends up hitting that branch, which is there. Oh, I haven't paused it in time. Come on, there. Right there. So, whilst the object sensing is good, we are nowhere near at the stage of any of these drones being out and out amazing in these kind of environments. I don't even know if Skydio would have picked that up. If you look at the color of the background and everything, short of full 3D scanning LiDAR, I don't think you're getting that. I don't think any camera system is going to pick that up. We're still not at the point where you need something physically able to pick stuff like that up. Now he does have the full video, which is very, very good. It really is one of the better videos I've seen on it. He crashes it a few times, I'm going to tell you that. But he does show the tracking on it. He does crash it a few times, to say the least. But overall, it's okay. It's not great. It does fly into a wall in a minute. You see him with it here, and it goes wide, and the wall, I think, curves round, and it doesn't see it. What I am intrigued at as well, you can see there, it was fine here. It went a bit nuts, but it was fine. But further along, it did hit the wall. Now, he is flying it with the OcuSync module on the back, and I do wonder how much that is restricting its view. He bought this. He didn't get it from DJI. He was in China when it came out, and he bought it. You actually see it here. You see a clip, and it just catches the wall in a minute. He's pushing on the pace. And there's a point where it just catches the wall again. And it's because it just didn't see it. But overall, it's a completely different drone than what released before. That's, it certainly isn't the same type, I'm just trying to see where he takes it down the track. He takes it through the trees here as well, which it's okay at. Very close to that branch. But it's certainly not it's certainly not an out-and-out FPV craft, this. But he is flying it with the bracketry on the back. Now, what is interesting is that when this drone launched, it did not have Acro mode. However, this has been posted online that DJI pushed out a firmware update this week to add manual mode. I can't comment on it, but it is apparently there. How manual it will be remains to be seen. Yeah, it's certainly not the same type of drone. It's definitely been pushed more towards selfie. I don't even know if it's even sensing. At that point, with branches like that, when you see these branches that he hit, I'm not convinced outside of LiDAR is going to pick that up. He does show some really good footage going down the mountain. He shows some really good footage. It moves around a bit too much, if I'm honest. It's almost trying to keep two close to it. But it does do well. I'll be honest. You know, to be out on your own with this, it's great. To be fair, if you had an accident or anything, I don't mean to wish an accident on him, but you know, it does avoid the trees. But when you just get to those, I was really impressed with this. Look, boom, it avoided that. That is highly impressive. When you look at that again, the very fact it did avoid them is really good. But it then ran out of skill, is the term I'll use. But I think it only picked them up because of the thick branches in the middle of the tree. It managed to pick it up and goes, oh, no, not like that. But then, boom, that there, that was too much for it. So it did struggle. But DJI have released an update. We do have the full specs now on the DJI website. Oh, I meant to translate that. So we do now have the full official specification for the drone. Someone just asked about the camera. The field of view on the camera, according to DJI, is 119 degree field of view. Yeah, it's a different camera. We also now have a full teardown on this drone already as well. Someone has already done the full teardown. It's Jiang Yao has done a complete teardown, which means I won't be. I'm probably not even going to buy it at this point because I'm not sure. Like, I haven't made a decision. I would like to try it, but there's no point me doing the teardown, that's for sure, because someone has already done it. What is interesting is how much that loses with that sensor on the back. He does also do the full teardown. It's not O4 or O4 Lite. You can't use O4 or O4 Lite technology. It's a DJI drone with O4 built into it. The camera's not the same. O4 and O4 Lite are product. O4 Pro and O4 Lite are air unit products. They have nothing to do with the drones. It isn't O4. It isn't O4 Pro. It isn't O4 Lite. It's O4 with whatever camera they've chosen, with whatever they've done. So this is the OcuSync module on the back. The drone is Wi-Fi only unless you bolt the OcuSync module on. It is exactly what we expected it to be. It's basically the S2 chipset inside a USB module. It's literally what we said it would be. You got the two antennas, so he's just peeling off there. And you'll see on the other side when he gets the can off, it is just the S2. There you go. Let me just go back. He takes the lid off. It's just literally the S2 chipset with some sundry circuitry in a module bay. It's literally what it is. I still don't fully understand why DJI have done this. I get it. People saying they want to sell it cheaper with and without the module. But I don't know. Look, there's part of me that makes me wonder, was this really worth all of the cost and hassle? Why didn't they just put it in the drone? He does go on to share some more pictures inside. I've taken some stills, which we'll have a look at inside. Let's just get the lid off. Where's the board? There's a lot of space in this thing when he tears it apart. It's quite a big drone inside because of... you'll see inside you've got the PCB on the top. Tons of space in there, actually. What's really good is, if we get into it, this is the main PCB. It's running the Eagle 3, I've been told. Thanks, Junus. Not the Eagle 3T. The Eagle 3T is in O4, the Neo, and the Avata 2. This is the Eagle 3. The Eagle 3 is the big brother of the Eagle 3T. Makes sense because it needs more horsepower for the object sensing. Therefore, it's got a more powerful SoC. But there is no reason they couldn't have put the RF chipset in this. There really isn't. It now has a proper GPS module. Proper GPS antenna, fully fledged, not cut back. Very much a fully fledged camera drone at this point. And then we have the camera module. It is not the same camera module as in the Neo. It is not the same as in O4 Lite, O4 Pro. Camera spec. The sensor is a 1/2 inch sensor. But it's got a 119 degree field of view. f2.2 aperture. And it does look very similar. As for will it work on O4 or O4 Pro? Extremely unlikely. You can't even put the O4 Pro camera on O4 or O4 camera on O4 Pro. So there's no reason this would ever work. Technically, it could. But DJI would have to choose to. But it is a different camera. Same size sensor though, is it not? DJI Neo. I can't remember the spec on the Neo off the top of my head. Technical specs, convert. I can't remember what was in the Neo or the Lite at the top of my head. Come on, 1/2 inch, yeah. Same size sensor. But it is a new camera. But yeah, look, there's a lot of space in here. As someone just said, a lot of technology, a lot of features for the price, super impressive. Agreed. An awful lot of features for the price. And in some ways, I don't believe putting the OcuSync in a separate module really saved DJI much cost, because it's their chipset. So they could have done that at their cost and put the price up a bit. It's hopefully a much better camera. It's a better sensor. It's a better lens, hopefully, which should improve things. Let's see if this ends up on anything else. Could DJI put this in O4? Could you see a refresh with this? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure the field of view on this was remotely designed for FPV. The field of view was designed for what they felt was right for the drone. It's the same with the Neo. The field of view we have on the Neo is as a result of what we've got in O4. DJI just picked what was off the shelf and used it. With 2 more degrees of field of view, it might not even be worth it anyway with all the new wide-angle lenses. There is, but they all have a compromise. We still we still have some new lenses from Flywoo, which we'll talk about in a minute. But they're not really fixing the problem because you do get image issues and that. You know, there is a compromise to be had here. There's no perfect solution. But look, it's out. It is launching in the UK shortly. I don't know the UK pricing yet. I'm going to have a look at the UK pricing. Once I know the UK pricing, I might be tempted. This is, though, a very different drone. DJI are absolutely going after the Hover Air Pro Max crowd. That's what they're doing here. Skydio isn't even in the game anymore. This is about selfie follow me drone. If you want it on its own, you can buy it without the OcuSync module. Without the OcuSync module, you can only use it via Wi-Fi or via the controls on the front. You don't even need to use Wi-Fi. You can just control the drone directly. But if you want to use it with the RC N2, N3, DJI RC2, FPV Remote 3, Goggles 3, you have to have this module. You have to have this module for that. So we're going to have to wait and see. Price-wise, like, I don't know what pricing becomes equivalent. If we look over here, you know, in Hong Kong dollars, it's $1,699 on its own. I'm trying to see, how much... I'm trying to see, do they have the module on its own for it. Oh, go away. DJI Store, aerial photography, Neo 2. Do they have the module on its own? Let's see. Yes, so they're talking 129 Hong Kong dollars. What we would probably need to do is a comparison to a Neo today on pricing. So we're on Hong Kong. So the original Neo on its own is 1,399 Hong Kong dollars. And the Neo 2 is 1,699. So it's a chunk more. It is a chunk more money. You know, the Fly 2 combo is 229. Whereas, is that with that remote? That's not with the remote. That kit, the 279, 249. So it's in Hong Kong dollars, you whatever it is, yeah, you're $300 more. Probably going to be, yeah, I don't know what they're going to put that at Europe. We're going to have to wait and see what that looks like in Europe money. British and Europe money. You think a battery's 269. It's a battery on this, 279, so they've put the batteries up again. I don't imagine the module's expensive. No, the drone is not analog. It's digital. It's DJI OcuSync. So, look. We know everything about it now. You know, there is nothing that we don't know about it. All the reviews are up. DJI are going after Hover Air. And that's really where things are going to settle. For me and people who've already got, you'd want just the drone and the OcuSync module because I've got the goggles, I've got the remote, you know, we have everything. So, yeah, look, depends how cheap. But look, for me, I'm sort of out of the game a bit with this now because there's already a good teardown. You know, he's done a really great job. Honestly, he really, really did do a great job. He even took the camera out, which I didn't do on mine because I didn't want to go that far with the risk of damaging the gimbal. I tell you what I am intrigued at looking at. I tell you what I didn't look at. How well is that 3-axis gimbal held in place? Because that is going to be the risk on this drone in a crash, especially in Acro mode. So that is the 3rd axis there. How well is the front bit held on? Let's just have a look. So there's a screw there. Ah, there's 3 screws. So the motor mounts to 3 screws. Okay, so that looks pretty solid. So you screw the back plate to the motor and the bell is screwed to the front section. And then you have a C-clip in the middle from the looks of it. Okay, so it shouldn't just rip off. I can't comment on how good Acro is because there's hardly any footage of it in Acro. There is like no a little bit of footage out there. I'm less concerned about the gimbal now. You know, if we go Neo, DJI Neo to Acro, there really isn't a great deal of footage out there. You've got all these people posting content, but no one's really freaking... Half of these people don't even have the drone. So, look, it could be... I see it has easy Acro, but does it have M mode? Apparently, DJI added Acro manual mode this week. Apparently. So, apparently, firmware version on the official DJI website, the latest firmware version is O200. So if I go to downloads and DJI's document, so officially this was the last firmware that DJI have published on the website, which is version 0200. However, this apparently is 0400 and it has Acro. Which is manual mode. So apparently it's got it. Apparently. Let's see what it's like. Apparently it is a lot more powerful. A lot more powerful as a quad. Yeah, people called it manual in videos. DJI Neo 2 manual mode. Is there a video of it? Okay, we have one here. I'm going to mute it because I don't know if there's any audio. So he's got manual mode, apparently. Let's see. So what's he written in the comments? Your spin is still there. Okay. Throttle feels like Expo is higher than Neo 1. There's a definite flatter curve around the middle and it's not as responsive. And it's not as responsive before. Okay. What, oh, you've got the object sensing coming up on the goggles as well, look. Oh, he's got to turn it off and... yeah, you've got to turn the attitude mode off because you have that limit feature. Catches us all out. Let's have a look. Oh. Did it change mode? No, it didn't. Just watch that again. You didn't quite catch it. Yeah, you overshot. Okay. First time. Well, it definitely looks like a Neo. There was a smoothness to the Neo. Got some wobbles to it as well. You seen the... Oof. Yeah, it's definitely flipping faster. Yeah, it does make you wonder if it's from the gimbal. It's a good point. There's a... Is it the aircraft or the gimbal? Okay, well, someone's flown it in our manual mode. It exists. And then someone was testing it 7 days ago. This was the original footage, apparently. So, look, that's where we're at. Yeah. We're just going to have to wait and see. I am, depending on the price, will depend if I get one. Okay, we'll wait and see. Look, I'm not feeling a great rush to do it right now. I would like to do it, but cost is an impact at the moment. So, look, nothing comes for free, and we've spent an awful lot of money recently. And unfortunately, that means I can't buy everything just to have it. It's as simple as that. So, that's that. Before we move on, I'm just going to catch down on the chat. I just want to remind everyone, super chats are welcome, but not required for me to answer a question. But if you do want to donate to the channel, it is always welcome. Talking about the DJI Neo 2 as an example. Screwdriver review when? Not sure. At the moment, I'm struggling on time to get through everything I'm already doing. Could it be from the gimbal if it's not locked? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Right. Next, we need to talk about this, the Cadex Protos. Now, I'm in the middle of finishing my review on this. I'm tempted to play you something. I'm tempted to play you my first flight. Someone just asked, did you try flashing Betaflight? No, because I don't have a Betaflight target. The only people who have flashed Betaflight are the people Caddx have given targets to. You can't flash on it because we don't know what the flight controller is. Now, we have learned an awful lot about this last week. I know so much about this now, it's crazy. We know what the RF system is. We know what the flight controller is. We know what firmware it comes with. We know what it is using out the door now. Yes, I can tell you, this comes pre-flashed with PX4. You can even tune it, which I've got a video coming showing you how to tune it, but it comes from the factory flashed with PX4. Not my first choice of flight control software. However, I understand why Cadex chose PX4. So much so, you can even actually adjust it with QGroundControl. Now, I have flown it, and frankly, it is not good. And what I mean by that is, I ain't talking about the flight control. That is terrible. The RF link is bad. And when I mean bad, I mean from a stutter and a jitter perspective, frankly, horrific is the term I'd use. It's not just latency. It's the whole RF link. It is better in 720p 10 megahertz mode. Not perfect, but better in 720p 10 megahertz mode. I can't key up the first bit to show you because the audio is a separate file. So therefore, I won't have the audio and the video together. But I can probably share with you my first ever flight video, and you will see the audio is quite entertaining. Playing it back, I do say my God way too many times. I don't think there's going to be any audio on this. This was my first ever flight. Is PX4 Ardra No, it's PX4. PX4 is PX4. I'll explain the differences in a minute. I'm not worried about the flight control software. Did you see the stutter there? I just took off and there's a stutter. Where there? Did I go back far enough? So just watch this again. There, you can see the micro stutters in the image already. There. Now, this is why I wondered why when I watched this, why was everyone all over the place? Now I'm all over the place, and now I understand why. Because you take off and you're like, what the hell? What is this doing? I couldn't fly this drone for the first few minutes. It doesn't help. The included remote is just garbage. There's not enough throw for the settings they've got. It's badly tuned in Acro, to say the least. It's not tuned, it's just the settings. But can you... I don't know how much you guys can see the stutters. The stutters are everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And bearing in mind, this is 720p, not 1080p. Also, the exposure control is terrible on this camera as well. Bitrate is all over the place. I also had a complete signal loss randomly now. You are about to see it. Watch the bit. Boom. Gone. I'm going to show... Oh, and then it comes back. Let me just show you this again. Now, the only thing it could have been, I could have hit the null of the antenna. But watch the bitrate. Oh, so, sorry. Watch the bitrate. 9 megabits, 11, 12, 13. We're okay. We're okay. And I turn. 12, 13, 6, 10, 6, 0. Now, the only thing I might have done there is hit the null of the antenna. Because remember, single antenna on this quad. And if I just go to the overhead, the antenna is this one here. So, this quad would have been that orientation. Me here, up the field. The antenna this side. I think I hit the null of the antenna. On that turn is what I think. I came round because it would have been that way with me here at that point. So that is what I think happened there. Focus mode kicking in. And then it comes back. The stutters are my biggest problem with it. The link is not stable at the moment. Also, whoever tuned this, did you see the tune? I could not, on the standard remote, coordinate yaw and roll to get a smooth pitch. It just felt all over the place. And in the end, I flew it on my TX15 because I'd had enough of it. It's like, what is going on? I'm not sure it can get you... I don't think this is any good way to get started in FPV at the moment. You fly this and you learn to fly this... It's completely different to another craft. It's okay in the stabilized modes, but Acro, honestly. Camera is also very noisy. Very, very noisy. Just notice how much noise you're seeing. Oh, again. I'm there. Just bearing in mind, right? Wait a minute. Bear in mind, I'm there at this point. And I had breakup. Although, there are only patch antennas in the goggles, so you need to be very aware of that. There's only 2 patches in the goggles, no omnis. At the moment, I was literally first flight just to get a feel for it, to understand it. I was doing yours just to have a look at the video to see how the stutters looked. The stutters are very noticeable. Something I have to say is, in my penetration testing, it's not performing too bad. Yeah. But it is. It was windy as hell, though. I will add this. I had to move from here. I couldn't stay here long because it was 200... Look, 100 milliwatts should get you better video than this at this range. Put it this way. You shouldn't have the stutters. But the stutters are the problem. Can you... Do you know how much you can see them there? There. Do you see, look at that. 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 Look at this. Look at the sky. That is it there. Ready? Look at that. 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 That is the worst bit. So look, more than anything, first ever flight. First ever flight. I then did push it a little bit harder at the normal flight ground because I wanted to just see what it was like pushing it a bit more at the normal flight ground as I was getting used to it, but the stutters are still there. Just to see how it looks on the grass. Overall, oh, just... I wanted just to see what the video link was doing, how it would look, what Still a little bit windy here today, so it's not super... There's actually a bit of detail in the grass. But it's this stuttering. Yeah, bitrate's a bit better here. I can't remember if I'm in... I must be in 20 megahertz at this point. Might have a bit power, I'm not sure. Wasn't willing to try the rolls low. But yeah, look, it's okay with a bit more power. One of them was on the lower power. This is on the higher power. That's but legal. It's the stutters is the bigger issue at the moment. But it doesn't look too bad here. Agreed. One thing I just do want to show you is... Did I go through the trees on that one? Let me just check this one. I haven't got the audio recording on these. So I can't remember if one of these is 10 megabits and one of these is 20 megabits. I just wanted to see what the signal behavior was like. It does start to smear up a little bit when you move through. You start to see... I was doing some penetration testing, and I also did it with Avatar as well on the Go film. You start to see... I caught a branch there. You start to see this rolling compression. Just watch for this right here. You start to see this like rolling. Can you see that? It's almost like water running. I'll go back so you can start to see it. It's a bit weird. When you first see it, it's like, what is that? It's like a water running across the image. Artifacts, but rolling. They actually move by themselves. You can see it on the sides here as well. Yeah, it's like digital static. Yeah, it's weird. Now, I was pointing at it at the moment, so it made it through. If you want to see one that didn't make it through, I think I'm pointing away at this point. Let me just check. I can't remember where I'm pointing. I'll tell you now. Because I did do a try without pointing at it as well to see what it went through like. Oh yeah, no, this is the bad one. So I'll go through. This was me pointing away. So I'm on the back of the antennas now. And you can... Let me take the... I'll leave the bitrate up so you can see it a minute. You can see it start to roll. And then I make it through. And then... But that's it, like, really bad. So that's the low signal behavior. Really, really bad. I'll just take... What did the bitrate get down to? So we got down to 2 megabits a second. 1 megabit. 1, 2. The bitrate behavior seems to move okay. I'm quite happy with that. Let me now take off the subtitle track so you can see at the bottom of the screen, because you need to see what I was showing. But yeah, it goes like this weird... Tell you what this reminds me of. This reminds me of the Avatar when it was in thing mode, spectator mode. It's really, really similar. Come on, man, it's not that bad for starters. No, we're evaluating the FPV system. It doesn't matter if it's for a starter. Telling a starter to buy a new system that's a load of shit and is no good for them on anything else in the future is a complete waste of time. The right thing to do is for it to be a product someone can evolve through, it is complete waste of time having a product that is an end, that they cannot use with anything else or is not ideal. Nothing is about starter. It should be about what is good enough and then progress. Because you may as well recommend something else. But this is very similar. This rolling... That there, look at that. Look at it. It's weird. Very, very... Look at it, it's rolling. And I'll show you what it reminds me of. There are better cheap products to practice with that you can use on something else. I'll show you what it reminds me of. Let me come off this a second. Now, I cannot play the audio on this because it will get me... it will get me demonetized. I can promise you that. But I'll show you what it reminds me of. I made this video a while ago. And let me find it. Here it is. And I wish I could play the audio for this. I really do, because it's amazing, but I can't. But I will share this in the description because I chose a piece of music that fits it perfectly, but I can't play it because I'll get demonetized. But this is what that reminds me of. So this, I filmed this with Avatar in spectator mode, right? And watch this. This now in a second will give you an overview of the kind of thing that that is doing. Doesn't it remind you, not quite as extreme, but it is similar in some ways to that breakup. I was flying through that, by the way, because I was flying the spectator goggle. The music I picked for this is perfect, but I can't. But yes, it just reminds me of that sliding effect. It's there. That there, there you go. That there was really it. You know, that last bit where we start coming in, that there now really reminds me of it without the colour. Yes, this was spectator mode in Avatar. Is spectator mode in Avatar. They actually improved it after I showed this to them. But look, it's got a long way to go. Someone asked, the stutter's worse or better than OpenIPC? It's better, but it's not... The link is more flyable than everything I've used from OpenIPC. The link behaves quite well. You could see that there in the footage I was showing. Look, I could go through here without problems. I could move through. It wasn't that it wasn't stable. It is stable. Absolutely, it appears stable. Yeah, that is so similar to that video. Innit? Look at that. That is just so similar. It stutters. It's not terrible here. You can see it. like you can see it there as you're coming around. See that there? It's definitely there. But it's not as bad as OpenIPC. There are a few things that have made OpenIPC. You know, you shouldn't, you know, Avatar doesn't have this. So the stutters they need to work out, that definitely needs fixing. Frame delivery and stutters. What I can also share is my latency testing. I have completed my initial latency testing on this as well. That is now done. I will share an exclusive look at that with you now. But this will be coming in the review. I have shared a... I have shared this, but this is the latency numbers. Let me just get myself off the screen. Actually, that's not the latest chart. Wait a minute. Let me change that a moment. Sorry, people. Let me just correct that. 1 second. Let me get the latest one. That wasn't the latest chart. Something interesting is the latency appears to have gone up a little bit on Avatar HD since I tested it originally. And as a result of that, I've had to redo my Avatar HD numbers because they're not quite as low as they were before. But there is probably a reason for that. Let me just go back and find the chart. Aha. Here we go. So, this is the latest latency numbers, including... no. That's not the right one. Where is it? That's definitely not right. I know that's not right because I know the number. There it is. So, my original Avatar numbers, let me just explain this. The original Avatar numbers I got when I first tested Avatar was 24, average of 24 milliseconds to first pixel, 32 milliseconds to full frame, with my lowest ever latency coming in at 23 milliseconds. However, I have retested everything and validated it against HDZero. Just so everyone understands, HDZero is my baseline because HDZero is fixed latency. I know HDZero is 14 milliseconds to full frame on the Nano 90 and 18 milliseconds to full frame on the 60 frames a second cameras, 2 to 3 milliseconds to first pixel on the Nano 90 and sort of 4 to 6 milliseconds to first pixel on the normal 60 mode. But my baseline is HDZero Nano 90. I always start my testing with the HDZero Nano 90 because I know my camera's working properly. I know the system is working properly. So these numbers were revalidated against HDZero. And as a result of that, I've had to increase the Avatar latency numbers up from 2432 to 2736. Now, I suspect the reason Avatar has gone up is I did this testing very early on, before Caddx had tweaked and improved the firmware with all of the problems. What I suspect is when Cadex improved the RF link, which they did dramatically, we gained a little bit of latency. That is what I suspect, because my tests now are bearing out this on the same hardware I tested originally. I dug out my original Avatar goggles and the early VTX and went back to bare bones testing on that. So that is where Avatar is now. If we look at Ascent, it is night and day, even ahead of the goggles on 60 frames a second. See, this year, it is still ahead of this. So far, 45 to 58 at 720p, 60 frames a second, 10 megahertz. 720p 60 frames a second, 20 megahertz goes to 47, a little bit higher, and then 1080p 60 on Ascent, 20 megahertz goes up to 50 and 66. It's got a bit of way to go, but this could even be the camera. Look, this is cheap. This isn't necessarily the same. This isn't apples for apples testing. So this isn't to say that this can't be lower. This isn't to say it can't be lower. Someone's asked about O4. All of the O4 latency numbers are on FPV Wiki. Well, they should be. DJI products. DJI O4 air units. The latency should be either here or on my latency chart. Latency testing. Is O4 on this? I can't see. Actually, O4 is not on that one. Where's my O4 one then? Interesting. I might need to check. Let me open my open the chart. I do actually need to go back and retest DJI O4. I wanna double check. I've definitely got the numbers because I tested race mode. But I wouldn't mind going back and redoing O4 if I'm honest. The best one to show you is always this. This just freaking wipes the floor. People talk about what we want on a digital FPV system. Let me just prep this up. Ah, yeah, that's got O4 there. So that is the O4 numbers in my initial testing. O4's a little lower than Avatar now. So O4 is 18 milliseconds, 30. Basically, O4 gave us back, and I said this in my review, O4 race mode gave you back what you had on a V2 goggles at 120 frames a second. You didn't really gain, you just got it back, basically. That was the race mode testing. And then O4 Lite race mode had a little bit more latency. And these numbers are now no longer accurate. They need to be higher. And then HDZero is that's HDZero 60 frames a second mode. That's not even playing at that point. If you want the real fun, my full O4 chart is there. Funny enough, I need to make that one smaller. I need to republish these, I think. I have so many latency charts, it's crazy. I need to get... Why is this gone so big? Can't read it. I need to zoom out. Make the chart the right size. There we go. So, if I just show you guys this. This brings up DJI... so this is the main O4 latency. Vista 120p is what, 720p? Yes. Yeah, Vista, DJI original FPV system was 720p. So here you've now got O4 Pro race mode, then you've got V2. So this was the one with them all on for DJI side. So V2, basically race mode on O4 gave you back what you gained with the Vista, in essence. Goggles 303, O4 Pro, and Goggles 0303, very similar latency numbers, all the same. V2 03 120 frames a second mode, 28, a little bit higher. DJI did increase latency with O3. You know, O3 on Goggle was the Goggles 3. O3 Goggles 3, 100 frames a second. Where is it? Goggles 2, O3, 100 frames a second is down here. So we were all talking pretty solid. You know, pretty solid. And then, look, if you look at where Ascent is, Ascent sort of in this mixture, Goggles 2, O3 and O4, 60 frames a second. It'll be roughly the same number. It'll be roughly the same number. Somewhere between Goggles 2 Vista high latency mode and G2 Goggles, and then, yeah, there. But none of this compares to the biggie. Let me just find it, because I always like looking at this one. Where's HDZero? HDZero is just, it's like, it's not even sporting. Let me put that big chart up. I just saw a big chart. This one is so funny because it's not even funny. It's funny, but it's not. If I show you this one, this gives you a real indication. And this doesn't have Ascent on there. But if you look at HDZero, 60 frames a second down here. If we zoom in to this bottom end a minute. HDZero Nano 90, 3 milliseconds to the first frame, 14 milliseconds full frame. It's not, there is nothing, and I mean there is no system that comes close to HDZero on latency. And it's not even funny when you look at it. Because if you here's what's even funnier when you realize HDZero 60 frames a second will deliver a full frame before O4 race mode or Vista low latency mode has given you your first pixel. HDZero will give you a full frame before every other system has given you the first part of the pixel. What I call first pixel is first change on the display, because it's not actually a pixel, it's a line. You actually get an initial line appear. That's how fast HDZero is. 3 milliseconds on average to the first movement. It's just insane. And it's fixed, and it's consistent, and it's every time. It's just in another league. It really, really is. So, that's where we're at with Ascent. That is, latency is, it's high. I can't tell you. Overall, from an RF perspective, the link doesn't seem too bad. It is worth remembering, this drone is incredibly compromised. It only has one antenna. That antenna it has got is not great. I would like to see what it can do with a proper antenna, if I'm honest. The antenna on it alone is not good. You know, this is the worst case scenario for this. So I'm not really worried about RF signal breaking down. I'm not particularly concerned about that fact. What I'm concerned about is the stuttering and that stuff, because that's there all of the time. That's where we need the work now, is they need to clean the image up. Put O4 light on it, yeah, you absolutely could. Look, I get why Caddx did the antenna they did, because it's in the duct and it's not going to break. But man, one antenna there. It needs another one at 90 degrees, but there isn't a second one on the VTX. It needs another one 90 degrees horizontal as well. Yeah, it's right there, and it's a terrible antenna. Yes. Someone says, do you get the video freeze when hitting the bottom? Yes. Do these tests account for any variable? No, because it's impossible to test. Do these tests account for variable latency at any range? I can't fly Avatar, but never could at any range. I can fly Avatar, but never could DJI without getting physically ill. So, Avatar, DJI O3 and O, what DJI could you not fly? There is no way to know how variable the latency is. There's no easy way. There's just no easy way. There really is too many factors to understand. Cadex stabilized theirs a lot more towards the end. The original DJI system was quite variable. O3 and O4 is fucking flat as a pancake now. O3 and O4 is just insane. It's just on another level. It really is. What is the bandwidth of spectrum of O4 Pro in race mode? I can't fucking remember. It's 20 megahertz. 20 megahertz carrier off the top of my head. Off the top of my head is 20. What's also interesting on Ascent is that it has a 3 megahertz uplink carrier now instead of a 10 megahertz uplink carrier like Avatar. The antenna, it is on its side. The antenna is horizontal. So the antenna on this is horizontal, pointing that way with a little bit of it going into the... Can't even see it. You can see a little bit of the wire there. But yeah, it's poking through there. It's not glued back on, so I can actually poke that off. There you go. There's the antenna. So it's got this barrel, and then the wire sticks out and comes through like that. An unladen swallow. I still also think this top design panel is completely terrible because when your battery's like that, it's putting all the pressure on these screws, which is going to eventually rip out. Don't really particularly like the latching mechanism for the battery, but yeah. Drill a hole through and put a quality antenna. Yeah, it's just weird you put the antenna on it. The problem you've got is it's got no back bit. So it's like, where do you stick it? That is the problem, is where do you stick the antenna? Why would tapping affect the VTX? Chances are it's the main power. It's not the VTX. It's probably the flight controller. Something is bridging or something is tapping and is cutting power to the VTX. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. I've taken that out, but that was how it is in the teardown. I have taken it out and put it back in, but that was how it is in the teardown. They tuck it down into there, but there's no real way to tuck it. Remember, I have taken this apart, but that's basically how it was from the factory. In the original video, you will see what it was like. In fact, let's just have a look at what it was like. The problem I had was it was stuck to this, so when you take this off, it pulls it out. But it's like, well, what do we do with this? Where do we stick it? How do we... I don't know what we do with this. Do you see what I mean? Where does it go that it's not going to be bent? And that's the next question. It's like, where do you put an antenna on this? The battery takes all the space up at the back. So it's like, where do you put an antenna? Your only real choice is up front here. The truth is, your only choice is going to be an antenna on the top here. That's the issue. But yes, so now as for tuning this drone, I do have a video coming, but I will share with you guys a quick sneak peek because this drone, the Protos, is based on PX4. Now, for those who don't know what PX4 is an open source flight stack. It is not Autopilot. It is not Betaflight. It is not iNav. PX4 has been around for quite some time. It's not new. Unfortunately, it's now under the control of Arterion as part of the drone code. PX4 has certainly not been the #1 choice. PX4 goes all the way back to Lorenzo. Is it Lorenzo? Merens? I don't know how to say his name. It is open source, but PX4 also allows commercial use as well. So it is based on PX4. You can use PX4 with QGroundControl. This is where everything gets a bit confusing because you might see the Pixhawk. Right. Do I really want to try and explain this? Right. Pixhawk was the name of a retail flight controller. The name Pixhawk officially is the name of a flight controller. It's not a type, it's a name. Pixhawk, unfortunately, became a bit like Hoover in the naming scheme. Officially, the original Pixhawk was both the Pixhawk flight controller brand and the Pixhawk software. After that, they now label them FMU types. So you have different design of boards, FMU 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as an example, 6 plus. Which is the board hardware design, but Pixhawk is still the brand. But because it got mixed up between the hardware and the brand, it does confuse people. So, the original Pixhawk, which was 3DR, the 3DR Pixhawk, this thing was a Pixhawk. It was the official Pixhawk. It is the one that there's always been. What you see since then called Pixhawk are using the name incorrectly. And it's bloody complicated. However, anyway, it's based off PX4. If I open up QGroundControl, we can actually plug the drone in. Ready? We're going to plug it in. We're going to wait for it to connect. And it will take about 10 to 30 seconds.
Hold flight mode.
I might need to disconnect and reconnect because I don't know if my remote's going to connect because I turned the remote on after the drone. Let's see. You will get some errors. Don't worry about it. Perfectly normal. Oh, my remote
Acro
is connected.
flight mode.
So, for instance, we can swap.
Manual flight mode. Acro flight mode.
Are we still live? Because someone's just right and he's gone. And gone is he? Can we just...
Manual flight mode.
Swap the flight modes. There'll be a bunch of error messages, but don't worry about it. Then you can go into vehicle configuration and you can change the options. You will get a few errors. Don't worry about it. But just to prove it is connected, I got the radio. It's going to move the throttle. It's very slow to react. But you can see it is there. I have a video coming on tuning on this. The main parameters you're going to want to be aware of are MC_Acro. This gives you the main Acro settings for Acro mode. So, for instance, you can actually change the Acro. They've currently, from the factory, got it at 500 degrees a second with the Acro Expo set at 0.69, which is really, really high. But yeah, and you can also MFP, is it MFP? No. MFC? No. MPC underscore H, not H, MPC underscore, oh, I can't remember the term. It'll come to me in a second. I've got this all in a video and I've forgotten it. I'll see it down here in a second. Let me look for the actual setting. Man. MPC underscore man. MPC underscore man tilt. This is the tilt available in attitude or stabilize mode. So you can adjust them there. No, I haven't measured the insulation resistance of the battery. So look, it is running PX4. We can't mess with it. Someone was asked why didn't they use Betaflight? Because Betaflight does not support optical flow. So their only options would have been
communication
iNav,
lost.
and I'm shocked they didn't use iNav, if I'm honest. I am surprised they didn't use iNav. PX4 has some better licensing options. So it can make some sense they chose PX4 over iNav. But many people ship products with iNav, so I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know why they chose PX4 over iNav. I genuinely don't. Yeah, I don't. It's hard to know for sure. Did I ever buy the glasses? No, I didn't. I don't think they could have done it for GPS at the price point. I don't think the space is there. Where would they put the GPS antenna? But yes, it's running PX4. You can use QGroundControl. I will have a video coming on how to tune it. And we'll take it for a quick flight as well to get it out in the air. But it took a little bit of time to figure out what it was running. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't have chosen PX4. That's for sure. Right, just want to catch up on the super chats. I smashed the like and it didn't hurt at all. Thank you, Props Off, for $2. And Props Off again, 240 watching, only 63 likes. Come on. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, look, GPS would have been an expensive choice. So it makes sense from a Cadex point of view. Now, this week, there will also be, and I'm going to share this on my Patreons first. For those who don't know, I actually burnt these goggles out this week. I still don't know how. But for those who don't know, I actually burnt them out. And I don't know how I did it. Might have been my fault. Might have been Caddex's fault. The truth is we don't know. Don't worry, they're working. But there's a repair video coming. I still don't fully know why they burnt out. Someone asked earlier... uncomfortable. The foam is a bit harder than it was on the L. I preferred the foam on the L. They're as comfortable as the L if you flew the L. I would love to see someone try and put the Neo module inside a drone and mod surely as possible. What? Oh, do you mean inside the Neo 2? I would love to see someone try to put the Neo module inside the drone as a mod, surely as possible with all the space. Possibly, yeah. I don't know how much space there is physically seeing it for myself. It's 11 meters a second. So, yeah, there will be a repair video coming on this, and I don't know how we burnt them out. Right. One other thing I just need to mention on Caddx, and let me just get this up, because this is important. But I need my email up to read the email. Two seconds. Yes, it's regarding the battery. So I have had an official response from Caddx. This will be my official reading of that. So I did receive a response from Caddx. I'm going to read you what I was sent. So after my document I shared about the Caddx battery issue, for those who haven't seen it, let's actually get that up as well, because it's the right thing to do. So for those who've been watching the channel, you may have seen me talk about the battery issue with regards to the battery included with the Cadex Protos Ascent drone kit. In my teardown, I found what I believe was a critical safety issue, and that safety issue being as follows. We look at this document. I produced this document for Caddx to show them what I felt was the problem, not only listing the product, but an overview of what the issue was. And that issue is the fact that the temperature sensor wires, which are enamel wires, loop down over the top of this row of capacitors. This row of capacitors is at permanent battery voltage. They are not switched. They are not fused. Here is the battery positive terminal, which goes up to the capacitors, which bridge all the way along to negative. My concern was that in normal use, these wires could vibrate, rub on the top of the capacitor, rubbing through the actual protective coating, which is only the thin enamel coating, resulting in a potential short, which in worst case scenario could lead to a fire. Now, I shared these findings with Caddx and recommended 3 possible solutions. Solution 1 was shortening the wires and bringing them up over here so they didn't reach down there. Solution 2 was insulating the top of the caps. And solution 3 was insulating the wires themselves with some additional protective coating. My personal advice would have been to do both of the latter, which would have been to both put insulating covering over the top of the wires, as well as some Kapton tape, a foam strip, or something along the top of the capacitors to offer protection. In this, I shared Caddx the document which had the potential risk, as well as my personal recommendations. Now, I hadn't heard anything up until yesterday, but Caddx's product R&D center have emailed me back, and they have said as follows. Hello, Mr. Ian. This is X, and I don't want to say their name because it's always to be fair, from the Cadex product R&D department. We've been actively evaluating the battery risk you reported and have been working with our supplier to assess the situation to determine how best to address this. We would like to outline the relevant details and corresponding actions taken as follows. The enamel wire in question is used for connecting the temperature sensor and is not part of the power circuit. Correct. I never stated it was. Okay, correct, but I never stated it was. To ensure safety and compliance, we have requested our supplier to provide the relevant qualification certificates and safety inspection reports. Now, this aligns with what my assumption was with that Caddx don't make the battery. Caddx have bought the battery and it's got their name on the top of it. Okay? That doesn't change the fact that the issue is bad, and it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't need addressing, but it is not a surprise that Caddx bought in the battery as a finished product. We take any potential risk that may arise from production process very seriously. We have promptly implemented, the enamel wire in question is used for connecting the temperature sensor and not part of the power circuit. Sorry, I've read that bit. Yeah. We have taken the potential risk that may arise from production processes seriously. We have promptly implemented and agreed improvements to the battery production process, regardless of the inspection outcome. This includes optimizing the sensor wire length, insulation, and internal routing and fixation. So Caddx sound like they're going to resolve the existing batteries, which is fine, brilliant, what we want. Regarding the first batch of batteries already sold, we are actively evaluating options that may be dependent on the safety inspection outcome. So what Caddx have said is they've asked their supplier to perform a safety inspection, and they will take action based on what their supplier says. Caddx sincerely appreciates your timely feedback, which is critical for our continued efforts and improving product quality and safety. So what Caddx have said is they're going to change production to fix the new batteries. Brilliant, happy days. What I'm less happy about is what they've said is they are waiting for the inspection report and will decide what to do about existing batteries once they have received the report. I somewhat understand, to actually understand why that's the case. Caddx have bought in the battery. If that battery is faulty, then their supplier needs to be the one that is changing it for them. They need their supplier to agree that that isn't safe as well. What my concern is, though, is these batteries are still in consumers' hands, and I feel they're a risk. If their supplier says, no, we think it's okay, then Caddx isn't going to replace them. I'm not going to keep banging on about this. I have this out there. If the worst case happens from this and Caddx chose not to replace the battery, then that's on their head. People can sue them. People can do what they want. What I am pleased about is that Caddx have given me an answer. I would rather that answer had been, and we're going to replace all of the batteries for the existing users. That, I think, would be great. It's not about that they got it wrong. Everyone gets things wrong. It's what you do about it when it is wrong that's important. It's not about we shouldn't have done it. It's about, oh bugger, what we do about it. I would just rather, though, those batteries were swapped out for new production where they've insulated it. But look, it is what it is. I'm going to do a video on mine where I'm going to fix it. But at least we've had a response on the battery issue now. Okay, hopping over to the questions. Yeah, Troy Rain, I got no issues with them having it inspected. I just don't think, I think we all batteries can look. People said, a couple of people said, yeah, but what's the difference with like a LiPo? A LiPo is something we all understand the risk of. This is meant to be a safe battery that you can throw around. Right, catching down on the chat. Kingsleave has said, I think, Krigsleave. Heard a rumour that some people had issues with it. Even taking apart the internal module, really loosely attached, and I think that's the issue. Stuck with a solution and want an internal module. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Chris. Been flying the Darkstar 22 for the past couple of weeks. Great little drone if anyone's looking for one. Had anyone got experience with the iFlight Skyviz goggles? Right, back to the beginning. Anyone got experience with the iFlight Skyviz goggles? My internal module is awful. It's really clear at first, and then literally 10 meters away, it all breaks up. External module is fine, definitely faulty. I don't, I'm afraid. I wasn't sent a set to review, and I wasn't going to pay that money for them. Heard rumours that some people had issues with it, even taking apart the internal module, really loosely attached. I think that's the issue. Stuck with a solution, want the internal module. And then he goes on to say, Ian would send them to you if you want to take a look at them for video, maybe find an issue, could be content. What country are you in? Definitely interested. Either send me an email at mad_rc@icloud.com or get to me on Discord. Come chat to me, let's figure something out. Oh, UK, even better. Fucking, yes, let's make it happen. Yes, let's figure out, make it happen. Well, I'll pay the postage down to me. Let's get them in. Would it be possible to add 10% to DIY 2700 battery connected to Betaflight and get the reading on OSD? I don't know what kind of I/O Betaflight has available. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Someone said, what Max Racing said, the 24-kilometer video shows is possible. What's this? At Fire Mike. What's at Fire Mike asked? Probably possible over I2C, yes. O4 can easily, with Max Racing Limited, I can't see. Max Racing Limited, I have PX4 and an old Trax Aton. Yeah. I'd love to try HDZero without going right out and buying 700 goggles. Yeah, look. I think HDZero, you gotta try it first to see what you think. Is Ascent Wi-Fi based eventually? No. It is based on Artisan. It is based on AR-Link, similar to Avatar, but it isn't the same system. It is an entirely new system. It's not Wi-Fi. It is RF. What I will say is, I'm not particularly disappointed in the RF penetration performance of Ascent. What I mean by that is this. Let me just show you something, right? Okay, so these two were both on 25 milliwatts, which is the legal power in the UK, obviously. Is it this one? I need to just check. Nope. So this is the fly lens. No, it's not. I keep saying fly lens. This is the Go Film 20 on Go Film 20 on 25 milliwatts. Now, bear in mind the Go Film has two antennas, and the goggles, these are the goggles L, they have 4 antennas. Okay? So, I need to show you the third flight because I was pointing towards it at this point. So just bear that in mind. Actually, no, it's not that. It is the second video. Sorry, wrong one. So, we're going to go in with Avatar and run down the same run. Okay? So this is Avatar. Let me turn off the subtitle track. 25 milliwatts, going down the same area. Caught the branch. Starting to see breakup. Similar. So that was Avatar. Okay? Very similar to Ascent. Is this Avatar? Actually, yeah, this is Avatar. I don't know. Did I show the wrong bit of footage earlier? This is Avatar Goggle. This is definitely Avatar. Right, we'll have a look in a minute because I might have shown the wrong goggle. Right, that's Avatar. Now, this was the first Ascent flight. But this flight, I was pointing away. Okay? I wasn't pointing towards it. I was pointing away. It was very windy again, so I was... Look at the... Now, I crash in this one. Right? But bearing in mind, one antenna, I crash in this one. I'm pointing away. No, this is Ascent. I don't think I showed you Ascent earlier. I couldn't have been showing you Ascent because we didn't go down to 4x3. Oh. Now, I lose signal here because I'm pointing away. And then we end up in the trees. However, oh, no, that one. I then do that one. Then we fly it out, and then I do it again. That's too short. It'll be this one. But this time, I'm pointing towards the trees, if I'm right. This time, I'm pointing towards the trees. No, it couldn't have been. Because we didn't go to 4x3. Why didn't I think about going to 4x3? The field stuff I showed you was Avatar. It must have been Avatar, not Ascent. We'll look now again. Right. So this is Ascent with me pointing towards it this time. So not away, but towards. No, this is Ascent. It does still have a bit of rolling at the bottom. But bearing in mind the antenna differences. Right, what I showed you earlier was wrong. Go to Ascent 6. This is Ascent. How did I not think when I was showing it? On the field was, it must have been through the trees, wasn't. Yeah. Tell you what is really bad is the exposure, look. Also notice the bit rate. We're at 912. Look at the bouncing. Look at it. It's all over the place. Can't remember, did I go back through the trees? No, I didn't. What did I do on this one? Let's have a look. Nope. It'll be this one. This is Ascent. This is definitely Ascent. You can see on the bitrate. Mine doesn't go black and white. I've been told it only goes black and white on the early firmware or in dev mode. I was avoiding that puddle. That puddle was asking for issues. God, it's dark at times as well. Look how dark it is coming through here. It's really hard at times to see. It's constantly bouncing. Can you see the constant bounce? So there you go. Yes. Or I'm pointing towards it. I need to see where I am. I'll know based on where I am. Where am I? Depending on which... I've got them in order on the audio. The audio tells me. I would say that's legal power. Yeah, 6 megabits, look, on the field in front of me. This might be 10 megahertz carrier because I did some tests on the 10 megahertz carrier. This might be 10 megahertz. What was it at takeoff? Yeah, I reckon this is the 10 megahertz carrier. That's why it's at 9. And then if we go to, no, this one, that's 20 megahertz carrier. God, look at the bounce. It was a bit windy, mind. I ended up going over the trees because I had a big jump of latency. I was like not comfortable with that. Constantly bouncing around though. The quad just flies like crap. See, it's constantly. Something good to know, mind. There is technically, right, all we need is a Betaflight target, because once we have a Betaflight target, right, there is nothing special other than optical flow that requires Betaflight. So if you don't want optical flow, once we get rid of optical flow, we can get rid of PX4 and carry on with Betaflight. We just need the target sheet so we can tell the pin IO. Once we've got the pin IO, we're fine. Or iNav, yeah. We just need the pin IO for the flight controller. My bets is... yeah, the testers aren't sharing the targets, so... if someone wants to leak it online, that would be great. Because once we've got the pin IO, it's job done. My money, my bets will be... that board will have a pin out almost the same as something else. My bets are it will. If we go to Caddx, are they selling the board yet? Are they even selling? No. Now, obviously, this week, Caddx have announced the pricing of the new Ascent Lite VTX, and they are taking pre-orders for the VTX as a standalone unit on its own. If we go over to the Caddx website, they are saying the Walk Snail Ascent, so they're going to be calling this Walk Snail, is available for $35, but this is a pre-sale. We don't know if this is permanent pricing, which is incredibly aggressive. Whichever way we look at it, incredibly aggressive. That's for the VTX. And then the goggles, they are pricing at $149 at the moment, I think it was. $149 for the goggles. So you're talking $35 and $149. You're talking sub $200 digital FPV. Price is extremely aggressive. They're doing a pre-sale of the VTX and the goggles for $184.99. Let's see if they continue with this pricing in the long term. Or is this just going to be the short term? It is definitely aggressive. That's for sure. I wouldn't be shocked. I've just realised. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the same freaking target. I would not be shocked if that's got the same target. Telling you now. Would not be surprised. Wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm trying to think how we can get the pin IO out of PX4. There's got to be a way. So, okay, that is really it for Cadex at the moment. A couple of other things just to talk about. HDZero have released a couple of new products. Bit weird. One of them is, we don't know a lot about one of them yet, but we do have a couple of new things. So when we go on the HDZero store, HDZero have released an antenna for the HDZero goggles, although I don't know where it is on the website. Is it listed under the goggles section? They've got their new HDZero Eco antenna. Is it available as a standalone or not? It was posted on the HDZero Discord. Oh, we might have found it. Here we go. Found it. So, we have the HDZero Echo antenna kit for the HDZero goggles 1 and 2. So this is an internal design antenna by HDZero for the goggles. It's a pair of antennas basically for $56.99. 2 patch antennas, 7 dB gain, and 2 Omni antennas, 3 dB gain. So it's a 4 antenna kit. for $56.99, which is quite a good deal. To be fair, that is not bad at all. You've got the Eco patch antennas, or Echo patch antennas, and then you've got the Omnis. So yeah, pretty good to see. Nice to see HDZero offering an antenna solution with the goggles. Better than having nothing as it's been for a little while. There is also this image crop up online of this, which is a HDZero remote controller. We don't really know much about it. We don't know where it's come from. I'm just trying to find it. It was linked on my Discord. There it is. So here we go. There seems to be a remote coming for or from HDZero. Interesting. Don't really know what it's about, but there does appear to be a new remote. So we'll have to talk about that when it comes. That's really the HDZero news at the moment. There isn't a lot more than that. Right, guys, if you've got any questions, now is the time to answer them. Obviously, Flywoo have their new camera kit available for O4 as well. I talked about this last week. Don't know if I did. I haven't done a video on this yet. I don't have this, so I can't talk about it. They have a new wide-angle camera set, which is a modified camera for O4 Lite. So it's an actual replacement camera, not just a kit. It is a mount.
Hey everyone, sick of...
Just going to mute that. So this offers an improved lens performance. So you can replace your camera into this module. They have lots of different options available for it as well, which is nice to see. O4 wide. So you've got the module, the original camera, which they're showing us there. And they strip it down to the board. It won't work with O4 Pro, no, because the cameras are not interchangeable. So then they've got that nice tidy solution where that goes on like that, which gives us a nice smaller option. That is really quite tidy, if I'm honest. And then you've got an adapter that allows you to put it up to full size. Plastic molded now. I need to order one of these in. Quite well designed, to be fair. And then that mounts it up then to full-size camera territory. It just goes in like that. Did DJI ever make a change to the camera connection? No. And there's just a couple of screws that hold it together. The real interesting one on this is, so you're going to see, so what we got, O4 Lite versus O4 Wide. O4 Wide, 4x3, no stabilization. Original O4, 4x3, no stabilization. So let's just have a look at what this looks like. So wait there, if we just look here, that building is that there. You're gaining a lot more field of view That is for sure. So this is normal. Is this normal? No. No, this is the wide. Yeah, it will be quite fisheye at this point. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of fisheye once you get to 150-degree field of view. Once you get into these kind of field of views. It depends what people want wide for. You know, if you want wide for flying, the fisheye is not so bad. It is very fisheye like that, isn't it? Yeah, no, it'll flatten out. Yeah, look, it's really, this ain't for recording. O4 Lite really isn't really for recording. This is so you can see next to you. Really cool to see. Really cool to see. So is it O4 wide? So just so I understand this, because so the lens kit, if you want to modify your own, is 12 quid 15, or if you want it with the camera, is 26.59. That's quite a difference. That is quite good. Pre-order, 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 pre-order. You can stick the new DJI Osmo Nano for recording. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look, this is to fill the gap that people who wanted wider. Flywoo are really stepping up right now. They really are stepping up and doing some cool stuff. I haven't even made a video on this yet. I need to order this kit in and give it a try. Definitely need to order that in. Right, guys. That is it from me for this stream. We'll have if you've got any questions, put them in the chat now. Other than that, couple of big videos this week. The P2S video is going up tomorrow. Finally finished the review. Not really happy with the video. The printer's great. Not really happy with the video, but the P2S video will go live tomorrow. I've had a lot more time on the P2S now. There are a couple of downsides on the P2S, nothing major. There are a couple of things that step back a little bit. Other than that, it's a good printer. Different options for F405 Wing Minis. SpeedyBee has really been pushing. Look, I'm not a big fan of Matex these days. Ever since I had a load of nonsense from them over a brand new flight controller that just stopped working, but I don't recommend Matex anymore. I know they supported like iNav quite well, and their website never works. SpeedyBee has been the SpeedyBee wing. SpeedyBee have just been smashing it. Although I wish they'd get that nonsense off their website. I don't care. SpeedyBee Wing F405 Mini. This is just... Look at this. Price in, $35.99. That's just what a controller for the money. Or the full size, $39.99. Maytech. Maytech is still not working. Oh, it's waking up now. Okay, you can get the H7A3. You got the wing light here as well. Yeah, pricing wise, Speedy B are years ahead. May text this about the other option, but I'll be honest, the way they came, I had a controller which I'd sat on for 6 months. When I went to use it, it wasn't working properly, and they basically said tough shit. So I was like, okay. Store warning. I'm not sure they're overpriced. I'm not sure. Speedy B's pricing is silly aggressive. Speedy B's has been really good. Honestly, the Speedy B stuff now is just top notch. Other option is the TBS. The TBS is well worth a look. To be fair, now they've fixed the initial issues. Electronics. They've got the Lucid Wing, which is worth a look. It's not a bad controller. Yes, but there is some weird stuff with the Chinese guys not selling everything into Europe like they did before as well. There has been some weirdness. They've all been facing it. Finally caught a stream. Welcome, our clamp SDR. Welcome. Right, guys, I'm going to end this one here. Sorry for the mistake at the beginning. I'm going to have to go and chop that up on the live at the beginning to make sure it things up. Look after yourselves. If you want to support the channel, please make sure you consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. It is only through the support we're able to keep doing this. I'm going to look at the Avata Neo 2. Avata Mini, I was going to say. It is an Avata Mini. We all know it is. You know it. I know it. I'm going to look at that once it lands. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. We will be back same time, same place next week. And we will speak to you soon.